What's up, everybody? B Hawkins here, and it's been a minute since my last video. Things have been kind of busy, to say the least, and so I did want to reach out and bring y'all something today, and it's just something that has kind of been on my heart. And let me go back to it being an extended amount of time since I brought you something, but I kind of got wrapped up in the sense that I was overthinking the videos. You get caught up in the editing and all of the captions and the stuff, and you forget that what people really want is for you to be authentic. And so here I am, authentic, been in the kitchen, been cooking. The humidity is awful here in good old Florida, so that's a whole nother story. But I want to talk to my women and men that are currently in relationships, and that's whether you're married, you're dating, what have you. And this comes with experience. And I'm 48. Truth be told, I am on my third marriage. The first two, I was very young, stupid, and really didn't know what elements were needed for a healthy marriage. And there's a few reasons behind that. And I was never shown a healthy marriage. So, growing up, my parents divorced when I was 8. And after that, it was just, there was never a male figure that was consistent, but I also didn't have a good female figure to show me what that process looked like. So today, the very short and to the point message is regarding you or your spouse being critical. And here's what I mean by that. In the beginning of a relationship, or even throughout the relationship, one or both of you, will say, I'm going to love them for who they are, and I'm going to meet them where they're at, and I'm always going to support them, and I'm going to be their biggest cheerleader. And for some couples, that is true. But for others, it's not. And so while the relationship may start out that way, what ends up happening is sometimes the other spouse, maybe that has been struggling or wasn't always in a position they wanted to be in, can then become very critical of the other person's actions, career paths, what have you. And so then that loving them for who they are just kind of goes out the window at that point, and they forget all about that statement. It sounded good when they said it, but then they become your biggest critic. And you can become a little taken back because in the back of your mind, you're like, things have been almost perfect. No marriage is perfect. No relationship is perfect. You will have perfect moments, but I can guarantee you, no matter how much you love the other person, that relationship is not always perfect. But I digress. So you'll go back and you'll go, what the hell has happened? I had this extremely supportive spouse or, boyfriend or what have you, and we've always gotten along, and all of a sudden they're on this path that they always wanted to be on, but maybe weren't. And now you don't feel like you can do anything right. First of all, you have to sit down and talk that out. No matter how hard it is. I don't care if you're not a confrontational person. This isn't about being confrontational. This is about being assertive and confident in your relationship and being able to communicate. Because here's the thing, if that conversation goes left, so be it. But the one thing that other person cannot say to you is that you didn't communicate to them and they didn't know. And that is what normally happens. So if you are on the receiving end of that, your job is to go sit down with your significant other, whether that's marriage or not, and you communicate that to them. And don't be a reactor. Have a thought out conversation about it, because if you don't communicate it, they don't know. And if you're on the giving end of that, and maybe you didn't realize it until you've listened to me, then you need to be the bigger person, and you need to go sit down with your significant other, and you have some apologizing to do. Because when you are in a relationship with another adult, you have to understand that people change. You change with age. And I can tell you the person I am at 48 is not the person I was at 35. At 35, I was not the person I was at 30. And at 30, I was damn sure not the person I was at 25. So you go through a series of changes, and you should. Because with experience comes maturity, and with maturity comes experience. And mistakes that you once made, hopefully you recognized and you won't make them again. But it takes two really strong individuals to be able to recognize those changes and be able to communicate them and grow together. Because if you don't grow together, what happens is you grow apart. And then we all know what direction that goes in. And I'm not telling you to force a relationship, because that's the worst thing you can do. What I'm telling you is relationships are hard. They're tough. You know, it's no longer just about you and doing your laundry and making sure you have what you want to eat and making sure that, you know, this bill is paid or that bill's paid. You become one. And so you have a whole other human that you have to consider their feelings. You have to consider decisions. You have to take in their changes as they age and changes that life will place upon them, whether that's enduring a loss or, you know, maybe they got terminated from a job and then their whole life just went sideways. There's a lot of different scenarios. But what I'm telling you is communication is going to be key with that. And so if you're one of those that's maybe kind of been in a plateau, or maybe there's been some uneasiness or tension at home, and the communication and maybe being critical of that person or being on the receiving end of that criticism, and it's maybe not been what you would consider to be positive, you need to sit down and have a conversation before it explodes. Because what I can tell you is sensitive topics like this that aren't addressed in a relationship, it becomes I call it the tea kettle effect. You know, you're in this warm, fuzzy place and, you know, things go okay, and then all of a sudden you've got this buildup. So that pressure's building up over time. And then what happens once that tea kettle builds up all of this pressure? The big whistle goes off. And if you don't take it off of the stove, it's going to boil over. And that's what happens in relationships. So very authentic, very transparent, no filters, no makeup, no captions, and that is my stove telling me it's time to put this food in there. I'm going to leave you with that. And this is B. Hawkins with random shit about women and life in general. So y'all have a great afternoon. I got to finish up dinner, and stay cool no matter where you're at. It was great talking to you again.